Just like my life, this channel has no idea in which direction it's going. So this is a special video for those who love Marvel movies. This is about the life of Yondu Udonta. Yondu was born as a member of a Centaurian blue race. As a child, he liked troll dolls, but his life suffering just started when his parents sold him as a slave for the Kree Empire, an advanced military race that was engaged in many different parts of the universe. For 20 years was their slave and had to kill to survive. His biggest skill was his majestic arrow, which he controls with his sounds, whistling, using his red fin as a connection to the arrow. After 20 years, he is found by Sakaar and develops a friendship with him. Sakaar is a captain of a mercenary army and makes him part of the family. With one condition: they can steal and kill bad guys, but not children, or deal with them in any kind of way. Yondu agrees, but after some years, he becomes greedy and wants to have more power and wealth.
Young and greedy and stupid.
He starts creating a team of his own as he was making more and more. The most important person making him rich was Ego, and he ordered him to kidnap his kids in different planets and send them to him. Ego was not a normal human. He was an ancient creature which had the power of a planet. In 1988, Ego sends Yondu to kidnap Peter Quill on Earth. At this moment, Peter's mom is dying from a tumor, and Quill, very young, has to leave the hospital in tears after he loses her. Yondu kidnaps him, but for a reason decides to not send him back to Ego. He discovers a terrible truth. He had not just kidnapped children to send to their terrible father, but he was also responsible for all of their deaths, as Ego was killing them as soon as he was learning that they had no celestial genes and they would not serve him as energy source for his conquest of other planets. Yondu doesn't know how to show love to his adopted son, as he never experienced what it's like to be loved.
A little bit of love reminds you how big and empty that hole inside you actually is. Nice.
Sakaar and the other Ravager captains discover the truth and decide to exile Yondu forever. Yondu, with his fraction of Ravagers, continues to operate, and he learns young Peter how to steal and shoot with the weapon he gave to him. That weapon becomes Peter's favorite one. Fast forward, in 2014, Peter and Yondu make the deal to take an orb which has the Power Stone in it, in the abandoned Morag planet. Peter is attacked by Kree soldiers sent by Ronan. He overpowers them and escapes with the orb. Yondu expects for Peter to give him the stone, and when he learns about another of his betrayal, his soldiers claim that he was always soft with Peter. To this, Yondu finally responds that he will kill him himself, but first must find who is searching for that orb. With Kraglin, they learn that the Collector is looking for it, and also Ronan the Accuser, the Kree Accuser Corps, an ally of Thanos. His alliance has a goal to end with the destruction of Xandar planet. Yondu learns that Peter is possibly in danger and goes to take him alive. As Peter and his friends are fighting Ronan, Nebula and their troops, Peter loses the orb containing the Power Stone to Ronan. Yondu then hears a hopeless Peter calling him for help in empty space.
This is Quill. My coordinates are 227. Hey, 324.
Quill, what are you doing?
His ship is the fastest to come and save him and Gamora from their death. He then faced with treason. Yondu then shows his anger at Peter. He decides to kill his adoptive son, but turns around as he can't see him while doing that. Fortunately, Peter explains to him that Gamora, daughter of Thanos, knows the weaknesses of Ronan, and together they could beat him and retrieve the stone.
There appear to be Ravagers.
To battle against Ronan's army. Together as father and son, they make the preparations to plan.
Fire! Down! Submerge!
During the battle, Yondu's ship is damaged, and he has to land on Xandar.
I'm going down, Quill! No more games with me, boy! I'll see you at the end of this!
There, against 20 Kree soldiers who wanted to kill him.
Enough nonsense, Ravager! Time to separate!
People of Xandar, the time has come!
As Peter and friends, the Ravagers and Nova Corps' army fight Ronan and his troops, before Ronan is able to use the Power Stone to destroy the whole planet. Peter, Gamora, Drax and Rocket steal the stone, use it to kill Ronan. At that moment, Yondu comes to the scene to retrieve the stone.
I don't know who you're selling this to, but the only way the universe can survive is if you give it to the Nova Corps.
I may be as clear as one. I sure as hell ain't. It looks
Peter gives him the orb model containing the stone, but advises him not to open it. Yondu smiles and leaves him alone while putting a tracer, tracking his ship in case he wanted to know where he was. While leaving, Kraglin tells Yondu that they did a good job not killing Peter and delivering him to Ego when he was a child.
Yeah, that guy was a jackass!
Oh, I know.
Peter tells Gamora that Yondu has been his only family he ever had. Later that night, Yondu opens the orb model and sees the trick Peter made again by keeping the stone and putting a troll doll he had given to Peter when he was young. Instead of being angry, he smiles in silence, knowing the stone is safe on Xandar. Later, the Guardians of the Galaxy are paid for their job at keeping safe the Anulag's batteries. But Rocket steals some of the batteries. The High Priestess, Aisha, decides to attack them for this act of treason. Ego found about Peter's existence, and when they approach the planet, he saves them against the Sovereign.
Dad, Peter.
In the meantime, in planet Contraxia, Yondu is having fun with his crew, drinking and having sex with sex robots. In reality, he feels a deep emptiness thinking about his life and past actions. Out of his room, he sees Sakaar Sakaar was the only man he saw as a brother,
It's been some
and the
time.
one who saved him decades ago, and he betrayed him. Sakaar seems disgusted at seeing him. Sakaar tells him that his crime is unforgivable.
I told you before. I didn't know what was going on.
He then affirms that he will never be respected as a Ravager captain, and nobody will honor him now or at his death.
In the colors of a gourd will never flash over your grave.
A few moments later, High Priestess Aisha of the Sovereign Race comes and offers him 1,000,000 of units if he took the batteries and killed the Guardians. Yondu agrees, but his plan is to see Peter and take the batteries from him and leave him unharmed.
Hey there, rat.
He jokes a bit with Rocket and decides to take the batteries only. But Kraglin, his most loyal soldier,
That ain't right.
makes a mistake.
No matter how many times Quill betrays you, you protect him like none of the rest of us much matter. Yeah. I'm the one what he
That-
gives up for.
That triggers a mutiny by Taserface, who was waiting that moment for a long time. As Yondu and his few loyal soldiers prepare to fight them, Nebula, who was imprisoned by the Guardians, shoots him behind, destroying his ability to control the arrow. Yondu is betrayed this time not by Peter but almost all of his crew. He has to watch in shame the most loyal soldiers be killed in front of his eyes by Taserface.
You're the one what killed those men by leading them down the wrong path. Because you're weak. And stupid.
After being beaten, he and Rocket will be delivered to the Sovereigns.
This is what I deserve. Where's Quill?
Went off with his old man.
Ego?
Yeah, it's a day for dumbass names. Why didn't you deliver Quill to Ego like you promised?
He was skinny. Could fit into places we couldn't.
When Rocket asks him, he still is avoiding telling the truth, and his face shows that regret. As he is saved by Kraglin, his last loyalist,
I didn't mean to
which he forgives,
They killed all my friends.
he now knows that he must fight Ego. He delivers all his anger and rage to his crew members. Killing hundreds of them, including the burning of Taserface, burning him alive. Still, before dying, that piece of shit informs the Sovereigns where Yondu is going. At Ego's planet, Gamora has doubts about Ego,
Doesn't feel right.
What are you talking about?
while Peter is finally happy to see his real father and becomes arrogant when she's not happy for him.
Finally found my family. Don't you understand that?
I thought you already had.
Why didn't you come back? Why did you send Yondu, a criminal of all people, to come and to fetch you?
I loved your mother, Peter. I couldn't stand to set foot on an Earth where she wasn't living. You can't imagine what that's
I know
like.
exactly what that feels like. I had to watch her die.
He then learns about Ego's ideas for expansion and an eternal life. After manipulating him, the terrible monster tells him about her mother and the reason why he left her, and also that he was the one to kill her.
My heart to put that tumor in her head.
This awakens up Peter and he starts to fight him. Despite all that anger, he loses the fight, and Ego is using him as energy source to start his expansion of himself. That process stops as his human form is destroyed for a short time by Yondu's ship crashing into him and liberating Peter. Quill is surprised at seeing Yondu and tells him about how lucky he was that he was useful to him, otherwise he would have delivered him to this monster.
Idiot!
That's what you told me, you old... You said you were gonna eat,
That was being funny!
not to me!
As they get out of Ego's hold, Peter explains that they must go down and destroy Ego's brain using the batteries. Meanwhile, Kraglin with the ship in Ego's orbit sees the Sovereign's armies about to attack the Guardians and Yondu. But they are lucky enough to have Nebula. As their ship not working, he uses Nebula's robotic body to restart the engine and achieves the destruction of these enemies. At that moment, his ship too is damaged and is about to explode. They all unite as a single team to fight the only danger left, the biggest one, Ego.
What?
You look like Mary Poppins.
Is he cool?
Hell yeah, he's cool.
I'm Mary Poppins, y'all!
Kraglin's ship can take them in 5 minutes. They are very good at start. But Ego overpowered Peter, Rocket, Drax, Mantis, Gamora, Nebula, and blocks the way to his central. Facing defeat, Peter is motivated by Yondu's words.
I had to find the arrow, boy! I used my arm!
Has flashbacks of his childhood, a part of which is with Yondu. As he resists Ego's power and fights him, the other members are safe, except for Rocket, who can only save one other person. Yondu decides to save Quill and says farewell to his 2 friends.
I ain't done nothing right my whole damn life, Rat.
Suit and an arrow ring. I only have one of each.
What's that?
He says, welcome to the frickin' Guardians of the Galaxy.
After defeating his real father, Ego, Peter is left alone, accepting death, not seeing his loved ones ever again. Out of nowhere, Yondu appears and saves him again, just like in 2014. He asks for forgiveness of not being able to love him as a good father, and that he was proud of him all this time. Yondu is about to die in the darkness of space. He now sees his real father leave this world. Yondu is dead, as he gave his life for him, and Peter now has to prepare the lonely Ravager's funeral.
Yondu didn't have a talking car, but he did have a flying car. He didn't have the beautiful voice of an angel, but he did have a whistle. I have to feel bad. Somehow that thing you're searching for your whole life, it's right there by your side all along. You don't even know it.
Without the colors of Gord or any of his lost friends. He is surrounded by his troll dolls and not his weapon. As Kraglin gives a gift that Yondu had saved in case Peter returned home to his adoptive father. As his remains are spread into space, all the Ravager fractions and captains have already heard a message from Rocket. After learning about his heroic fall, they decide
He didn't let us down after all, Captain.
No, he did not.
And are united by his death. Yondu became a unifying figure for all the Guardians of the Galaxy as they leave their anger issues aside and become a real team. And thank you for watching. I am Lion of Europe and this was Yondu's life.
Of course, this was based on true experiences.